All right, I was thinking a little bit more about Bandon Dunes and what I experienced there. Final thoughts on Bandon Dunes, what that experience was like. To reiterate, it took me the trip that I had. I'm doing this like maybe a week after I was there, and so I'm just thinking about it, and I'm wanting to sort of add to whatever it was that I said. And I live in the Sacramento area, and it took me, my route was to take, I live in Roseville, so I took Highway 65 north, and I connected with Highway 70, and I went north, went past Oroville, then got on Highway 99 and went north through Chico, and then Chico, Highway 99 ends in Red Bluff, and then that connected with Interstate 5 going north, and then I went the entire way through Redding and then into Medford, Oregon, and I stayed in Medford for the night. So what I did is I stayed in Medford, and then had a great dinner at this Chin's family restaurant that was really good. I thought that was good. So then spent the night there, left in the morning at like 10 o'clock, had breakfast at Elmer's near the airport there, and then got on the road, and I left there at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And that was after breakfast. And the amount of time it took me to get to Bandon was just off the charts insane, because of all the traffic wasn't bad, but just it was like I had to make stops and stuff and use the restroom and, stock up on fluids or whatever. And then they have this situation where the way that you have to get to Bandon Dunes is you got to take Interstate 5, and then when Highway 42 connects with Interstate 5, it's actually the route that you're not going to take. It's not a route that they recommend. They recommend that you get off at this old highway 99 road, which I guess goes through Roseburg, Oregon. And then once you get through Roseburg, you end up making a left, which is west on Highway 42, and then that goes west, and that's just it's a 2-lane road for the most of the way, and then there are a few passing lanes and whatnot, and you're going through like beautiful scenery, and then you get to like a place, I think it's called Coquille. I'm Coquille, and it's named after a river, I think, that goes through there. And then you get on this Highway 42 South, and it's actually labeled 42S on the sign. And you take that, and it's a really, really undulating road, and it's really sort of hectic going through there. It's not a straight shot. You're going over like levees and stuff, and you're like on the edge of this road, and there's no barriers protecting you from going in the river or down the bank or whatever. And you're going through there, and you're just doing what you can, because I didn't really have a problem being behind a really big slowpoke up there. They did at least offer some like passing lanes and whatnot to get around and go a little bit quicker. But it ended up that it took me 5 hours to get there from Medford, and I just couldn't believe how long that took, because once I got to Bandon, Bandon is just a town that there's not really any big deal about it. There's a Verizon store, there's like a Ray's supermarket, and there's little mom and pop like hotels and inns and restaurants. I don't even think that there's a McDonald's in Bandon. But anyway, you connect with Highway 101, and that's a north to south route. And you just like I just stopped and I used the restroom at the Ray's grocery store, and that's about it. And so I got back in the car, went north a little bit, and then I just hit the Bandon Dunes Resort off to the left on Highway 101. And so I got there, I saw what I saw, and I kind of talked about what I talked about in the first video I had, or the first audio video, whatever you want to call it. And I remember seeing that I'm a big believer in having regulation golf cups on a practice green. And no matter where I went to see a green on that place, on that property, it was always a regulation golf course specific golf cup. That means it was, instead of like a 4-inch cup like they'd usually have on a practice green, they'll have the full length, I can't remember if it's like 6 inches long, but it's like the regulation golf cup that's in the practice green, and that's in the just all the accommodations there that are, where people get to practice and whatnot. And so I thought it was great that they did that. And even when I was talking about my experience working at that putting course, I really wanted to they had a little practice green there, and I took it upon myself to get the regulation cups in that green instead of the little practice green cups. I love having practice greens on a cup, or practice cups on greens to be actually regulation length cups. I love that. And they were the aluminum par 8 golf cups, and that's got to be the best golf cup on the market. And when I was doing my thing, there was this company called Lesco that had a truck going around that would visit all these properties. They would sell fertilizers and golf course products and irrigation parts, and they would actually sell these fertilizer spreaders on this big huge truck. And it was always driven by like a PCA. It's called a Pest Control Advisor. And they would, it was like a store on wheels kind of thing. And they'd visit all these golf courses. So I got these, what they called the zinc cups that were, I think I got 27 of them, because it was a 27-hole putting course. And they were really cool. When I got them, I remember how much of an effect it was, because it kind of livened things up there when I got those. So those were cool. And anyway, so the attention to detail they had, and then I compared it to Pebble Beach, and it's completely diametrically opposed to Pebble Beach in every single way. I mean, sure, it's a golf destination, but at Pebble Beach, there's all these carts everywhere. And then what are the wives going to do while you're playing golf at Pebble Beach? They're going to go shop. And that's why I say it's a purebred sort of enthusiast golf destination, and you're not going to have places for your wives to go shop over in Bandon, because there's nothing really going on in Bandon that any wife would ever want to go to, because there's just nothing. You don't have Carmel, you don't have Carmel by the Sea or whatever it is, or all the shopping venues over at Pebble Beach. They got the mall there. They got the, like at Pebble Beach itself, you got the lodge at Pebble Beach. You got all these shops that ladies always like to go to. Art galleries, whatever you want. It's all in Monterey. Monterey is an eclectic place, and so there's things for both parties to do in that situation, whereas Bandon doesn't have that. So that's a big, how should I say, it's a big sort of selling point for anybody that wants to go to Bandon. Can the wife come? Well, no, not really, because the wife is going to be completely bored, because she's not into golf, she's into shopping. So it's better to keep the wife at home, because there's nothing really for the wife to do in Bandon. So, and that's all I can think of. I'm still thinking about it. I don't think I'll ever be able to go there and play, just because I don't think I can walk 18 holes. It'd be great. I've never actually played golf with a caddy before, but I mean, that's got to be an experience unlike any other, no pun intended. But I would love to play with a caddy, but just it gets a little expensive for that, and I'm knackered with this stuff, and so I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I'm not gonna not tip my caddy. It's like people say that you really gotta be on the you gotta be ready with the lingo when it comes to tipping a caddy. You know, it's not like, it's got to be a completely different deal. You know, what's the customary tip for a caddy? Is it $100 for 18 holes, or is it more than that? See, I don't know. So that's why I'm serious about golf, but I'm not really that serious. I'm not that serious. But anyway, it's a great opportunity. And then, you know, I got to say it again, the people that I came across when I visited there, they were really great. You know, they were just hospitable, and they were, you know, helpful in helping me find out what I wanted to do. And really that punch bowl place really took me away. And I'm just like, I just want to go to a place and experience it. And I love that it was on the coast. I love that it was cool. I love that the breeze was coming in. You could hear the marine layer coming over the property. And, you know, even on the Punch Bowl golf course, the Punch Bowl putting course had the really deep regulation cups on it. And they were all par 8s. And they weren't the cheap little plastic flag sticks that I can't stand. They were the full-on, you know, heavy-duty sort of metal, iron, whatever you want to call it, the flag sticks that were in the hole. And I just love that. I just love miniature golf. And I've always loved miniature golf. But just to take it to that level where you got tee markers, you got places to, and they got these things where you could put your drink on. And it was a little annoying that people would leave their drinks all over the golf course and not really dump their garbage. But I don't know. There was a firmness to that green that I've never seen before or heard. And it almost took me, it almost reminded me of watching the British Open on TV and what the ball sounds like when it makes the thud on the ground. And I think that the sound that the ball made when it would land on the green, just me dropping it from my hand, I thought that was indicative of how firm that thing is, because it's all sand underneath. That's why they call it Bandon Dunes. It's built on a dune, I guess. And then the proverbial dropping of the putter onto the green, that's the sound, the thud that would make as well. And I just thought that was great. I just thought it was great. And so, you know, I really liked the putting course, and it wasn't really that busy, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I got there at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm so glad somebody told me about the putting course, because I probably would have missed it if I was gonna venture out away from the practice facility. And so I had never hit, another thing is I had never hit balls at a driving range on the coast other than at Laguna Seca Golf Ranch. And that was a place where you had to buy a bucket of balls, and there was wind coming in, and you could hear the cars in the distance, whether they were racing at the track at Laguna Seca or whatever, somebody was testing or whatever it was. But just being able to go to a coastal location and hit balls with the breeze coming across you, you had a left to right breeze that was constant at that place. And it was really, it really was great to see what the ball would do in the wind. And you could try to, like, you know, hit a club and try to hit it low and whatnot and see what the wind would do. And they had flag sticks out there with greens that you could aim at, and you could just practice all your shots. And then there was a few greens like on the left of center of the range, and then over on the right side they had another sort of couple greens that you could aim at. And I just thought it was cool. I just thought it was really cool. And then over at that other side where the Charlotte's course is, you had another set of range stalls where probably they would use that during like a big tournament, like maybe the US Amateur, where people could actually aim at greens on that, what do you call it, on the Charlotte's pitch and putt course. Because, I mean, it was probably intentionally designed like that. And then, yeah, I thought nobody was using that because people were doing the little pitch and putt on the Charlotte's course, which was cool. I didn't want to venture out there because I brought my my big huge golf bag that held a bunch of golf clubs. That thing probably weighed at least 60 pounds, and I didn't want to lug that thing around. So I probably should have packed a bit lighter for that. But yeah, I'm glad I had that conversation with that guy who just came there. He was from Montana, and he had just moved there 3 months ago, and he was like, yeah, Go check out that putting course. It'll be like it was like one big acid trip. He was telling me, just go to that putting course, the Punch Bowl, and you'll be like, oh my God, what is this thing? So anyway, I just wanted to add a little bit of information on the whole experience I had at Bandon. And then, my God, that putting green that was next to Bandon Dunes, the first tee in the 18th green, man, that was something. That was really something. Looking back on it, I really wish I took my other phone and plugged that in and made a video with that. And that way I would at least have something. It wouldn't be in 4K 60 FPS, but it would have been something. I didn't even think to do that. So I don't know. It was really great while I was there, and that practice green, my God, at the Bandon Dunes golf course was really awesome. So anyway, and then I got to see a few holes at the Pacific Dunes. I like the first hole and maybe I don't know. I think I only saw the first hole there. Just guys teeing off, and I don't know. It was cool. It was a great place. I loved the breeze coming in. And another thing, when I was driving from Medford to Bandon, it was like 95 to 100 degrees the whole way, and so I did have air conditioning in the car, and it was just nice to go to a place where it was nice and cool. And I just love being at the coast like that. And the smells that I was smelling reminded me of when I usually visit Bodega Bay, and there's usually the smell of, fireplace wood being burned in the fireplace, and you just smell that because it's getting close to dark and the sun is about to set and all this other stuff. You smell seafood, and I don't know, there were a few smells there that it was really reminiscent of Bodega Bay. So it was just great. It was just great all around. It just took forever to get there. And then leaving there, I'm looking back on it now, I left Bandon Dunes at like 7. I drove down to Brookings, California, which only had like a Fred Meyer and a few restaurants. I had a meal at McDonald's there, and I drove and I made a reservation at this Ramada Inn down in Arcata, which is just north of Eureka in very, very northern California. I think it's Del Norte County. But I drove in the dark, in the mist, in the fog, from Brookings into California again. Went through Crescent City, and then went by U.S. Highway 199 that went to Grants Pass, Oregon, that I had been on before. Went by the Pelican Bay Prison, and then just was in the trees, and I went through Endor as well, and I saw the Paul Bunyan display that's there as well. That's just south of Crescent City, and Paul Bunyan and Babe, they had that thing when I was a kid. I went through there, and then I went through Endor, which is where they filmed Return of the Jedi. I just call it Endor. And so that was a big deal going through there during the day, but during the night you couldn't see anything. But went through all there, and then ended up in Arcata. It took me about 2.5 hours to get from Brookings to Arcata. Spent the night in Arcata, and then the next day got up, and it took me a full day just to get back from Eureka down to Roseville to get home. And so that was 7 hours it took me. I think I left at about, I wanted to get a good breakfast, so I had some breakfast down in Eureka, and then I got on the road, and I was just on the road most of the time, and I thought I would take Highway 101 down to like Santa Rosa and then go east on like, 116 or something, but I just changed my mind. I'm like, get me off this road. I want to get home. So I took 101 down to Highway 20 and connected there, and I ended up taking Highway 20 through the foothills of, it was like Colusa County or something, and then ended up on Interstate 5 going south. And then Then I took Interstate 5 to south, went through Woodland, and then got back to Roseville that way, and I took the back way. So anyway, that's about it. So it took 3 full days of driving just to get to and from Bandon Dunes, and all I was able to do was to go hit balls at the range, use the putting practice facility, and then do that putting course thing. It's like I went to the moon and came back. I went to the moon, took my first steps on the moon, got in the capsule, flew back, and I was home in 3 days. So fly up, walk on the moon, and then fly back. So that was a 3-day trip, and I was exhausted. I drove that whole way. It was 1,000 miles. It was a full-fledged 1,000 miles that I drove in 3 days. So anyway, that's about it. That's me rambling on about, again, a visit to Bandon Dunes that I don't know if I'll ever go there again. And it's a great place, but just getting there, you got to be dedicated. You really have to be dedicated. You got to be passionate about golf. If you're gonna play, you really have to stay there at the whatever hotel and inn or whatever they have there. You got to stay the night at least, and then play golf, however many days it takes, whatever package it is, that you just got to stay there. You just have to. That's how they wanted to do it, and that's how they're doing it now. So, all right, thanks for listening. This is the Knackered Golfist Podcast on the Observant Ear Radio Network.